Okay, so is it me, or are you like low key jealous of your children? Because okay, let me explain before you be like, "Ah, here we go." And I only have boys. I have three boys. Well, they're men now. I have three men, right? That's all I have. I don't have girls. When I say I'm jealous of them, it's just like, yo, your mom is dope, son. Like, I'm mad because I'm like, really wish I had a mom like you have. And it's like a couple of years ago, I would have been real like, oh, I shouldn't say that, because for some strange reason, giving myself a compliment or bigging up myself and telling myself that I'm great at something was a problem. I don't know where I got that from, but I definitely cleared that. That was one of the first things I cleared. I'm like, no, and I'm not talking to the parents. If you go, "Oh, I don't understand why she's saying that," then you're not a good parent. You're not a good parent. If you're like, she's talking so high, that's because you're not a good parent. You're not a above average parent. Anytime when my kids are like, "Oh, you're a great mom," and I have to stop doing that shit too. Is that Yep, that's something I gotta go clear later. If your kids were like, no, you're a great parent, and you're like, no, because I used to go, oh, I'm above average, you know, and I didn't realize how that was taking all my efforts and everything that I sacrificed, everything that I did, everything that, and I did things consciously. I am I have never been so awake in my entire life. It's like it's gotten to a point where I understand. I don't remember the guy's name, but I understand what a guy in the Matrix was like, yeah, just give me steak, put me back in. I don't want to know about nothing. I don't want to see anything. He's like, I know the steak ain't real, but I'm gonna eat it anyway. Like some days I feel like that. Some days I feel like that. But like Dick Gregory said, once you put the magic glasses on, you cannot take those mofos off. You cannot take them off. So for me, I always had a hard time saying that I was great. I don't know if it was because I didn't feel that I was, because no one else said I was. So it was kind of like, okay. And it was funny because when they were small, I remember the day that I explained to, their ex father that we need to start parenting on purpose. I don't know where I heard it. It was kind of one of those things that you just heard in passing and it changes your entire fucking life and trajectory. I heard parenting on purpose. I don't know where I heard it from, but I sat there and it stayed with me all day. And I thought I was a good parent until I started parenting on purpose and I started to realize, oh wow, I was parenting. How can I say? I want to say this right. I was parenting my children at that time just to be better than my parents. Does that make sense? My only goal for my kids, I could feel someone just start crying. I could feel it in my chest. I was like, yo, I just want to be better than my mom. You understand? I just want to be a better mom to my kids than my mom was to me. And I guarantee you, my mother said the same shit. My mother probably said the same thing to herself. I just need to be the mother that my mother wasn't. Does that make sense? And it's like everybody's doing a ladder and just being one better than the person, but that's not it. And I realized that when I got that download from parenting on purpose. I sat there and I was just like, and I just heard it in my head. Do you parent on purpose? Do you have a purpose for your children? And I was sitting there and I was just like, damn. And yeah, this is what goes on in my life. This is what goes on in my head. But yeah, and this is why I don't have no time for bullshit. So it's like, I was sitting there and I was like, damn, I don't parent on purpose. Like, I don't have, like, and then at first, I thought parenting on purpose just meant that you were doing it because you wanted to do it, and you were doing it on purpose. You were doing it. You are aware that you're doing it. That's what I thought parenting on purpose was, until I got older in like the spirit and in like business. I started to work at Black Enterprise. That's what changed it. I worked at Black Enterprise magazine, and I was engulfed in entrepreneurship. I talked to Mr. Graves all the time, and it's like, and you're around all these people who have a purpose. And I was just like, wait, it's not just about parenting on purpose. You have to help your children find their purpose. That's parenting on purpose. You're parenting on their purpose. That's what you're doing. You're taking all your, not all, because sometimes it does feel like it's all your resources, boy. It's just like Jesus. But the money I spend comes back to me multiplies, because I circulate it and it comes back to me multiplied. But I digress. But yeah, so working at Black Enterprise Magazine, under the people that I worked for, it it opened my mind, to a completely different realm of life. This man made the magazine from nothing, like from absolutely nothing. It was just air. It was a thought, and he built an empire, and I wanted that. I was like, okay, I want that. And then what I realized, and I watched, his entire family was running the business with him. It was a family, and they were all wealthy. They all had, like, they were like the wealth. And I was just like, damn. So not only could I build something and have it for myself, but I can spread it towards the three boys, and they can have wealth, and then they spread it, and then our whole lineage changes. That's where I got that from. And I was sitting there, and I was there for a really long time. I was there for at least 4 years, and then we moved over to finance. But it's like watching watching the art department. I love Todd. Todd was my boy. He was the graphic artist. He made my first logo for my sorry, Todd. He made my logo when I first started making jewelry. I started making jewelry, and for some reason, people would just, this is not mine, but people would just buy it off me. They would be like, "How much is it?" My roundabout price was always 25, because I felt like it wasn't. I didn't know. I wasn't like a professional jewelry designer or whatever. So I would just be like 25, and then they would take it. And I would get $25 for that day. So it was cool. So I built a business around it. And I needed a logo. So he made me my first logo. I paid him a big $250 for it, and I fucking hated it. I hated that logo. I hated that logo. I thought it wasn't inventive. I thought it wasn't thought out. It wasn't, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It was so bad. That it was so bad. How bad was it? It was so bad. It taught me how to make logos. It taught me how to make logos. That was my spirit team. My spirit team did that. Because Todd was gifted, is gifted when it comes to graphic design. He's gifted. So the fact that he didn't make it the way I know he could have made it, and I paid him for it, that's only my spirit squad. That's the spirits doing that. So if something's happening, you're like, I don't understand why this is happening. Your spirit team muscle test and ask if your spirit team is doing it. I'll give you a free one. Everybody think about something, right? Think about something that you're doing that's not going through, right? It's not going through, it's not happening, whatever. It's for some reason it feels like it's just stagnant or blocked. I'm going to ask right now, I'm going to muscle test if it's your spirit squad that's doing it, right? Just follow. You don't got to believe me or not. It's just fun. Jesus Christ. Just have fun for, can we have fun for 1 minute and not do that? Okay, great. So I'm going to muscle test, right? And I'm going to tell you yes or no if it's for you, right? So the person who's asking, is it their spirit team? No. Are they supposed to be doing it? No. So that's it. You're not supposed to be doing it. So is that for everyone? Yes. Everyone who's watching this video, you're going to ask me a question and the answer is going to be no. Well, the answer is going to be no. It's going to break. And then I'm going to ask if it's your spirit squad. They're going to say no. And I'm going to ask if you're supposed to be doing this thing. They're going to say no. That's why it's not doing it. You understand? They're not, it's, and see, this is where muscle testing gets tricky because you're not supposed to be doing it, but then they're telling me it's not your spirit squad that's doing it or causing the delay, right? So is it that it's you causing the delay because you're not supposed to be doing it? So in a roundabout way, it's really not the spirit squad, it's you because they've told you not to do it, but you keep doing it anyway. And they're like, enough is enough. So we sent her. Hi, the universe sent me. So it's like they sent me to tell you you need to stop. Does that make sense? But we're moving on and I can't do any more readings. But yeah. So I don't even remember what I was talking about. It was the spirit just hijacked my feed. Hijacked my feed. Anyway, but yeah. So every parent just parented from my line. I'm just talking about me. It seemed like every parent just wanted to parent better than the parent they had. So for me, I got to a point working at Black Enterprise, being around all the stuff that I was exposed to, going to the Entrepreneurs Conference, which was amazing, going to the Women of Power Conference, going to, not even going to it, working golf and tennis. I worked golf and tennis. So it's like I know how to run events because I went there. All the event planning and all the putting stuff together, I do that at in finance. So it's like it's something that I do. I create events. It's a lot of work and it's expensive. So I don't do it. I don't do it for me. This is my event. This is my event. But yeah, but I know all that stuff and all that stuff started to get absorbed in me because I was exposed to it. Does that make sense? So, there's two things I want to tell you about parenting on purpose. Not not parenting on purpose, parenting on their purpose. You have to parent on their purpose. Like one of the purposes I know Jaden has is he's a musician. Jaden has been playing music since he was little. He's been wanting to play music before play the drums before he could even walk. So it's like we have a picture of him holding the drumsticks, and I think he was like one or something like that. He could barely stand up, but he would always crawl over to the drums at church. And one day we would just let him go, and then he did that, and we snapped the picture. It was crazy, but I support that and I parent on that purpose. Does that make sense? Because Jaden is also brilliant. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't say that because he's my kid. No, he's like that. Are you sure you're mine? Type of smart, because I'm intelligent. I'm very wise. I'm intelligent, but Jaden is real. There, like Jaden was supposed to be put in a gifted program, but I wanted him to have a childhood. I didn't put my kid in the gifted program. There were two times where Jaden could have just, um, and one was acting. They wanted him really bad. He was very just charismatic, and he was like 3 or something, charismatic, just running around. Come on, guys, let's go! And he would just run, and they were like, "Oh my God, we need to sign him today." And I had the money to sign him, and I was standing right there, and I was looking at the paperwork, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because he is so full of life. That's what I told myself. He is so full of life. There's no reason he should be working right now. There's no reason. I will do the sacrifice, and I will do what it takes for us to get to a point where he can do that on his own if he decides to do it. But signing up a 3-year-old, I think he was 3, signing up a little kid to do that, my kid, nah, nah. And um my ex-husband looked at me, and I was just like, no. I was like, we'll be back. And we never came back. He was like, what the fuck? And I was just like, he needs a childhood, bro. Like, he needs to be a kid. I don't want him working. I don't want him having to work at 5 or 6 years old. Like, no, he was probably like 2 or 3. He was really young, and they wanted him bad. They were like, he has an exotic look, But this brings it back to my original premise. I'm jealous of my children because other parents, and I believe my parents, would have signed me up. They would have signed me up. They would have put me in the gifted program, and I would have been stressed out. He would have been stressed out. He would have been stressed out. He wouldn't have enjoyed school. He wouldn't. You're only in high school once. You understand? You're only in grammar school once. He was in the school plays, all that other stuff. I go to school plays. Anything the kids have, I'm always there. Everything that the kids are like, hey mom, this is what's happening, or the teachers call me, I'm there. My parents weren't like that. But she was better than what she had when she was growing up. Does that make sense? I was in America. I was born and raised in America, so it's like the land of opportunity, especially from Panama. There's the land of opportunity. No disrespect to Panama, but it's like that's what a lot of people in other countries say. It's hard here, though. If you're watching me from a different country, it's hard. It's not as easy. It's not easy up here. It's not an easy place. It's just like it's not for the, especially New York. And we messed around and ended up in New York. Shoot. New York is not a game. If you can make it here, you definitely can make it anywhere else because every place else seems so much slower. But but yeah, so I I realized when I was working at Black Enterprise, I have to parent on what they want, who they want to be, the things. See what's in your house. That's what I kept getting. The download that I kept getting, I didn't even know it was download. What I kept hearing in my head over and over again was there is millions in your home, in your house. There is, because I would always be like, oh, I don't have any money. And they're like, I would get different like messages from preachers and stuff. What's in your house? What's in your hands? What's in your hand? And I was just like, and I would just be like, la la la, yay, sermon. And then I started working at Black Enterprise, and I was around wealth. Being around wealth changes you. It does. If you can get around it and stay in that room for a while, you can absorb it because if you pay attention. I started just gleaning. They didn't even know I was doing it. They would say stuff like, I remember one time Butch said, things don't just happen. Somebody makes things happen. I was like, I was writing. This is why I would tell you, I have a pen and a notebook. I was writing stuff down. I was like, Jacques told me a story, right? He said to me one time, he was like, I'm gonna try to make this as fast as possible. There was a queen who was going to have her son married. So there were 3 women, right? There were 3 women or 3 girls who wanted to marry her son. She gave each of them the same complicated knot. right? Same complicated knot. So the first girl, she burned the knot and it opened. And then she was like, see, I'm the fastest. I burnt it and it opened. She was like, you're disqualified. So she was like, no. So then the other girl, I think she cut it. She cut the rope and she was like, well, I didn't burn it. I cut it. Right. And she was like, nope, you're disqualified. You're not it. And then the last girl, she carefully undid the knot. They're coming downstairs. She carefully undid the knot. And she ended up being his queen because she took time out to unravel the problem. She took time to figure out what the problem was and how to move with the problem and how things should be so that the knot would untie. And he said, a woman with patience is what a man is looking for. You have to be patient when there's a problem and you need to redo or undo stuff. So you have to figure stuff out. And that changed the way I did things. Because I used to just cut shit and burn it. I used to just cut stuff and burn it. So it's like now you'll see me take time. Don't get it twisted. I still do cut and burn stuff, but especially if it's not even needed. But I take time to unravel stuff because of what he said. Wealth gets in you, wisdom gets in you, things get in you if you let it. But getting back to how I'm jealous of my kids. So I'm jealous of my kids because I wonder what I would have been like if my parents parented on my purpose or parented me on my purpose, right? Because I was always like this. I was always doing stuff, tinkering with this, fixing that, designing this. I used to design my doll clothes, with paper. So it's like I was always doing something. And it would have been interesting to see. But at the same time, it was a flip side. So it made me want to be better than my parents, right? But once I learned about parenting on purpose, I shot up to a completely different type of parent. I'm a completely different type of parent. I don't yell at my children when it's not necessary. If everything is okay, there is no reason for me to be mean to my children. There's no reason for it. What am I being mean for? If the house is clean and you're organized and you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, there's no reason for me to complain. If I had a bad day at work, I tell them I had a bad day at work. It's a corner day. And I would just go down to the temple and just go to sleep, and reset the day. I don't take it out on my children. I do not. I do not. Because your life isn't the way that you want it right now does not mean that you need to be mean to your children or take it out on your children. That is not okay. It's not. In no way, shape, or form is okay. It causes trauma. For me, I'd rather be like, F that house. If it's dirty, it's dirty. If it's clean, it's clean. I don't care. Then call my son out his name because he didn't do a command that I gave him. My kids have no consequences. My children have no consequences. Me, I would get my ass handed to me, like literally, and it's like, and if it wasn't physically, it was verbally. And the verbal, oh my God, the verbal was worse than the physical because the verbal stuck. The physical stopped after a while, but the verbal and the psychological, oh my God, it was crazy. It was absolute craziness. It's like my kids, if like they don't do what I ask them to do, it's kind of like, okay. But the funny thing is what they don't realize, and this is for a kid watching, what you don't realize, if you don't learn the lessons that your parents are trying to teach you right now, life is going to teach you, and that bitch has hands. She's going to teach you. That's what I'm waiting on. I'm like, okay, At least I know I said it. I told you what was what. I told you what you were supposed to do. Whatever you do now is on you. I told my boys, there's nothing, I have nothing left to teach you. I've taught you everything that you need to know. I've taught you everything you need to know, and you know I'm here for counsel. I'm not I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you how to move as long as it doesn't affect me. If it affects me, we're going to have a conversation. You understand? But if it doesn't affect me and you decide to go do this, that's on you. However you want to live your life, that's the life you live. But I still move towards their purpose. I still parent on purpose. I do. I still parent on purpose. It's like I don't. I'm not a hover parent. I'm really not. I'm not a hover like a helicopter parent. I'm more of the, you know where I am. You know what I can do. So if you don't come to me and tell me something's wrong, I'm going to assume that you got it and you want to handle it because you're an adult. You understand? I'm here to just advise you. Stop telling your kids what to do. You can suggest to them what they should do, but you cannot tell them what to do anymore. You can't tell them what to do. And honestly, when they were little, you couldn't tell them what to do either, because they didn't listen. I feel like they listen to me more when I talk to them like they're a person and they have a choice. But if I talk to them like a dictator, it's going to be a problem. They're my kids. I am stubborn and willful as hell. And my parents put that curse on me. I hope you have kids just like you. I'm actually happy I have children just like me. One, I know when they lying because they're not good liars. And two, I know like how to work with them because I'm literally just working with myself. Their attitude, when they catch an attitude, I be sitting there looking at them like, God damn, is that what I look like? Is that what I look like? Especially my oldest. I'd be like, yo, because he's a Scorpio, but he's a November Scorpio. The October Scorpios were more fun. But yeah, he's a November Scorpio. And when he is displeased, it is like, oh, that's why I can't get mad at him. Like, there's a part of me that will always think it's adorable. There's a part of me that will always laugh when he gets mad and does stuff and says stuff. And I'm looking at him like, do you know where you got your attitude from? Like, do you think you invented this? Come on now, please. But I let him have it and I sit there and I'm just like, you'll learn. I don't have to yell at you. I don't have to explain stuff to you. Life will. Life, she knows how to humble a bitch. I'm telling you that right now. I know y'all be like, stop cursing, but there's no other way to express that. She can humble a bitch quick. Like life, whoo, they gonna learn. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Let them do it. Give them some. It's funny that I'm playing with this. Give them rope. Let them Don't let them hang themselves with it, but you give them enough rope. Give them enough rope to see that, oh, I need to go back for training, and they'll be back. They'll be back. And if not, hey, that means you already did your job, and they were actually listening to you. They were actually listening to you. So, anywho, that's what I jumped on here to say. Probably gonna make a couple more videos today, so I don't know. I love you guys. Stay up, stay blessed, and don't forget to parent on their purpose, not just parent on purpose. Oh, ooh, I almost forgot. You cannot you cannot help your children with their purpose until you find your own. Until you know what your own purpose. That was the whole thing about Black Enterprise, but we got sidetracked with the clearing, or the question. But anyway, it wasn't until I found my purpose that I can help them with their purpose, because I didn't know I had a purpose. I didn't know I had a mission. I didn't know that I would be talking to like thousands of people daily. I didn't know that that's what they had in store for me, that I had in store for me when I wrote this. Does that make sense? So it's like, for me, I would go home from work and watch TV. I would play solitaire at work. I would not be doing anything until I went to Black Enterprise. and it was like, oh wow, you could have this, because a lot of people don't know that. They don't. So that's what I was supposed to tell you. I'm so sorry. It's gonna get better, I promise. But and it has, so I'm excited. But yeah, so it wasn't until I found my purpose that I was able to help them with theirs. And I heard someone go, well, how did you find your purpose? I looked at what was in my hands. I looked at what my hands would do, and I heard that question, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? If money wasn't an issue, what would you do? What would you be doing? I would literally be doing what I'm doing right now. Like literally, I would be making jewelry, making, different types of decks and books and apps to make sure that people stop hurting. I am so tired of seeing people hurt. It is breaking my heart how much people are hurting, and there's infighting and him against her, and it's like you're both wrong and you're both right. So it's like someone needs to come in and be like, "Hey, let's talk this out. Let's figure this out." And it was after I went through everything I went through, you know, and I realized I don't ever want anyone to go through that alone again, because I had to go through it alone. There were like thank God for YouTube. Oh my God. Thank God for all my teachers. But like there was no person. So for me, the people who comforted me were the people online. They were not even online like people, but like the videos that I watched, and the streams that I got. And I am the type of person that believes that if someone pours into you, you have to say thank you, and you have to pay it forward. So if the people in that I watched didn't create those videos, I wouldn't be okay, because I was in a bad place, and I needed a lighthouse, and they were my lighthouse, you know, and I I don't even know if I told myself or I just knew I was going to. I had to give back, and I had to help someone else in the next wave, because this is not stopping. It's not stopping. So it's like okay, we know more than they do, because we have our knowledge and their knowledge, and they have their and the knowledge of all those people before us, right? Because they gave it to us. So now we're turning to you, and we're like, okay, this is how you do it, and then you're going to have more knowledge, and then you're going to take it back to the people who still. And it's like kind of like how they used to put out fires with buckets, just passing the bucket, so we're passing the knowledge. So it's my turn. You understand? It's your turn. It's going to be your turn at some point. So that's how I found my purpose. And I'm a 3. I'm a 30. I'm 30 days. So they keep telling that 3s get bored, and they are not wrong. I do get bored real quick. I get bored real quick with things. So I do a lot of different things. And I do a lot of things and not even realizing that it's a lot until people go, oh my God. Or I start telling people what I do, and they're just looking at me. Their eyes start to glaze over after I'm at the 5th thing that I do, or business that I have, and their eyes start glazing over, and I'm just like, I guess I do a lot. And they're like, yeah, oh my God. And it's just like, what else I'm going to do? Watch TV all day? I do watch TV, but TV is a luxury. It's not something that I rather not watch TV for a couple of days and build an app that my children's children can not only use to clear themselves, but will generate generational wealth for my family. I think Netflix can wait. Netflix can wait. TikTok can wait. We'll watch it. Yeah, I give myself some screen time, but I limit it. I do. I limit it. And trust, I don't even know if it's me. I think it's my spirit squad that limits it mostly. They're like, all right, time to go, time to make the donuts. But yeah, so that's how I found my purpose. I looked around and saw and remembered what I was good at. And I started doing the stuff that I wanted to do as a child. I used to take my mother's nail polish and mix it to different colors. It never came out well, but mix it for different colors and stuff. And see, I told you, she's probably different than her mom. Her mom would probably whoop my butt. She didn't. She pretended like she didn't even notice, because she really wasn't using it. So she, as an adult, I started to notice certain things. She pretended like she didn't notice, but I was messing up her stuff, you know. So getting back to parenting on purpose, it's not enough. Or if you feel that it's enough, then it's fine. But if you're like, I want to be a better parent, you are just parenting better than your parents parented you, especially if you didn't have a good childhood. You don't want this floor. You don't want this to be your children's ceiling. You want that to be your children's ceiling. Does that make sense? So for me, I am aiming so freaking high that I'm at an altitude not a lot of people are at. Why? Because that's my kids. That my floor is their ceiling. I heard that on TikTok. My floor is their ceiling, and I want my floor to be high and my ceiling to be high because it's going to be full with a lot of resources. My parents didn't have the resources. They didn't have the connections, they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the technology. It's like a parent now and a parent in the 80s, you can't compare the two. They didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have social media. They didn't have anything. And you'd be like, oh my God, it was so much better. It was relative. It depends. I like the fact that I can do a creative work in a day instead of a year with the old way we used to do things. It takes too long. But then the funny thing is, it always felt okay. My team was like, do not go into conspiracy theories. I feel like they had it the entire time, and that's why everybody had it. But then it was probably in the Epstein file. But I'm not gonna say that. Don't say that I said it. I don't know who said it. Don't say that I said it. But anyway, my team's gonna shut me down after that. I love you guys. Stay up, stay blessed. Deuces, and I'm out.